Hi everyone, Stjepan here. I'm going to play another training game today. Before I start, I would just like to say thank you for the feedback in the comments, and I have to say I completely agree with you. The first point being that my attitude is a problem, and it is. I often tend to overestimate my position, underestimate my opponent's position, underestimate my opponent, and sometimes be quite rude to my opponents because of their play, which is not a nice thing to do, but I'm not doing it because I'm trying to be inconsiderate. I'm doing it because I don't know enough. So saying something about the position or about my opponent is just unnecessary. I need to be able to concentrate on the position and make the most of it if I'm better, try to get out of it if I'm worse, and that's it. I shouldn't even be commenting on that at all. The second point is, for all of you who've been giving me feedback about my tactical play and about my endgame play, I completely agree. Those are the two areas of chess I'm weakest at. I'm absolutely atrocious at endgames and at tactics, and I'm trying to correct that. This month I will be working on tactics extensively. I have started 2 weeks ago. I'm working every day from 5 books, and I'm also doing tactics on Lichess, chess.com and Chess Tempo. And as per my endgame play and Dvoretsky, I have been through the book and I plan to go through it again. I think it's necessary to go through it more than a few times, especially in my case, because I've never had any chess training up until recently, well, 3 years ago. So endgames and tactics are where you can see that most. So I really appreciate the feedback. I hope you are going to keep giving it to me and try to understand that anything I do wrong, I'm not doing on purpose, and that I am trying to improve both my play and my behavior over the board or online. So yesterday I've played one more training game, which I didn't record. I had a -10 position and I ended up misclicking. I played on the phone. I had a plan to just play the training games without recording to reach my goal, but after that misclick, I realized that I shouldn't really be a coward and try to avoid recording, because firstly, recording makes playing harder. Secondly, I want to show my mistakes, and yeah, so now I'm back. Starting tomorrow, the opening videos are going to be published every day, and every day until December 22nd, I'm going to publish one opening video. Along with them, I am going to keep playing training games as often as I can, hopefully one per day. If I can't manage one every day, then at least one every 2 days. So yeah, I started a custom challenge, 15 plus 15 rating range, 2050, 2900, which is quite high, but I want to play somebody higher rated than me, firstly because in training games I want to be challenged, secondly because if I win, winning against the high-rated opponents brings me more points. Okay, so I have somebody 2100. I wanted to play d4, but I kind of have a handicap that I automatically play e4 with white and c6 with black. We have e5. Okay, let's see what comes out of this one. I'm going to try to reduce the commenting on my opponent's play when it's unnecessary for the position and for the game. I'm going to go for the Italian bishop c4, which is what I usually play. Now knight f6 or bishop c5 are the two most common moves. d6 can be played. Bishop e7 can be played, the Hungarian defense. g6 can be played. That's kind of a weird move. Sideline, but tricky. Mate plays that. He's my coach. He's played g6 in this position before. This guy plays the Hungarian. So I usually play d4, and when they take, I play c3. But then I'm worried about knight a5, and I don't like that line. So I think I'm just going to go d4, e takes d4, and knight takes d4. I think that's more pleasant. I don't like facing knight a5. And I don't want to be gambiting pawns in this training game. So c3, knight a5, bishop e2. Wait, let's just check that out once again. Because I have been looking at those lines about a month ago, and I found some interesting ideas with queen h5. Let me try to remember that. So c3, knight a5, bishop e2. Was it bishop e2 or bishop d3? c3, knight a5. Was it bishop b3? I just can't remember, so I'm not going to do it. I did some work on that because I wanted to avoid being worse after knight a5, because knight a5 is the best move. And you obviously need to work on that some more because I just can't recall the move orders. So here bishop b3 should be normal. Bishop b3, yes. I wonder if I can go f4 on the very next move, or should I castle first? Because if he plays d6 now, he's threatening bishop g4, in which case I would either have to move my queen or play f3, and after f3, f4 is slightly weaker. I'm not sure I'm familiar with the move knight e5. I'm not that familiar with the Hungarian in general. I mean, I know the theory pretty well, but I don't have experience in the opening. Here knight c3 should be correct. Knight c3 castles f4, knight c3 d6 castles, knight c3 castles, d6 f4, bishop g4. Where does my queen go? To e1? E1 seems like a sensible square. So I'm going to play knight c3. That should be superior to f3. I may also, if d6, play f3 immediately and then go for bishop e3, queen d2, castles queenside. My bishop on b3 is perfectly poised for a kingside attack. And one thing I don't want to allow, what happened in the last game, is getting into time trouble. Last game I had a minute on the clock, but my opponent had 10. Now really it comes down to whether I want to play f4 and castle kingside, or f3 and castle queenside. I'm starting to like f3 more and more, because that blunts his bishop after he plays d6. He can't really play d5, I don't think, at least not yet. He could prepare it with c6, but I'm not sure that's such a common idea. Castles f3, d6, bishop e3. He could go for c5. But then my knight comes to either e2 or f5. Okay, so now I have to decide, do I go for castles and f4, or f3, bishop e3, queen d2, castles queenside? In that case, who is faster? If I go bishop e3 immediately, he can go knight g4, which I don't want to allow. If I go f4, he has bishop c5, which is annoying, pinning my d4 knight. I like the plan of queenside castling. I can't really resist it. It seems very sensible to go for that. And later on looking forward to something like g4, g5. He should play d6 now, although after f3, d6 is less efficient than before, but any opening of the position should benefit him, because I have just wasted time on f3. So we need to get 3 moves in: bishop e3, queen d2, castles queenside, and then start an attack. In the meantime, what can he do? He can go d6, bishop d7, b6, bishop b7. He could go a6, b5. But I'm not too concerned about b4 because I have knight a4. Again, I'm not sure about my plan of attack, but I can still change it after bishop e3. Okay, so she wants to go b5. And after b5, so bishop e3, b5, queen d2. If he goes b4 immediately, I go knight a4. If he goes a5, I can then take on b5. So I'm just going to continue with my plan, keep things flexible to see what he does. One thing about fianchettoing his bishop is that it's still staring at e4, f3, g2, and then my knight has a much easier time coming to the f5 square. I mean, meaning that it cannot be captured by the bishop. c5. I don't think this loses a piece because I have knight f5, and if c4, I have bishop f4. So knight f5, c4, bishop f4, takes on b3, takes on e5. I did consider this briefly, but I didn't think it works. Maybe it does work. So the problem is if bishop a4, he has b5. One thing I don't want to do is play f4. But that may be the best option. So knight f5, c4, f4, knight g4, bishop takes c4, knight takes e3, knight takes e3. Yeah, I'm going to go for that because I'm not losing a piece because I have f4, but it's still not pleasant. I don't want to give up my dark squared bishop. Then again, I don't want to give up my light squared bishop either. So if he goes c4, I believe I'm just going to go f4 because that forces knight g4. Because I go bishop f4, he can then take on b3, and if I go f4, he can't take because I take on e5. He can still then take on c2 because it's a tempo on my queen. I don't know, this just got very complicated very soon. So if c4, either f4 or bishop f4 has to be played, or bishop d4. c4, bishop d4, takes on b3, takes on e5, takes on c2, queen takes on c2. He can go bishop c5. Okay, he doesn't go for that. I will have to check that out because I think he may have had a chance to get a better position with c4, but I'm not sure. So now I'm starting to think that trading of the bishop pair may just be a good idea because I will be able to plant my knight into d5. So I take his dark squared bishop, he takes my light squared bishop on on d5. Knight takes d5. If he goes bishop e6 and I go c4, he can take it with the knight. That's true. But I want to capture with the queen on d5. So bishop d5, knight d5, knight d5, bishop e6, castles. And I am going to be castling kingside now. Okay, so... Or I could force a trade of bishops this way. So knight takes e7, queen takes e7, knight d5, forcing a trade. But then I'm allowing c4 again. But no, it's with the tempo on the queen. So knight e7 check, queen e7, knight d5, bishop d5. Knight e7 check, queen e7, knight d5, he has to trade. Otherwise, I'm going to take on f6 and play bishop d5. So I like that a bit more. Forcing a trade of pieces here and not giving up my light squared bishop. And here I want to capture with the bishop, so keeping his light squared bishop locked. And now we have the bishop pair, and I wouldn't say this is an advantage, but it should be a small edge. And also, his d6 pawn is a permanent weakness. Now if he goes bishop e6, I'm going to take on b7. So he goes rook b8 first, which is correct. And now I still want to take on d5 with the queen. So he's going to go bishop e6. I'm going to go... So castles, bishop e6. Is his knight better than my bishop? I want to be doubling up my majors on the d file. So how do I accomplish that? I'm struggling to find a useful move. Not now, but okay, castles, bishop e6, and now I need a useful move. b3 seems like a useful move to stop knight c4, but I don't really have to stop knight c4. I'm not sure I prefer my rook on the e file to the f file, and I can't stop bishop e6 now, so I'm just going to castle bishop e6, and what do I do now? b3 is a move, c4 is a move, fixing the weakness. Maybe I should have played c4 now to stop b5. Okay. So now c4 loses a pawn because he takes, knight takes c4. And I lose a pawn. But b3, bishop takes, queen takes, b5. I like b3 to stop knight c4. I'm not sure that's the most useful move. I don't want to play f4. I need a good move here. b3 stops c4 and knight c4. So I'm just going to play b3, and if he plays b5, I'm going to play a4. I want to challenge his pawn structure on the queen side and stop his knight from coming into c4 and recapture on d5 with the queen. Because if I recapture with the pawn, then the square is not weak and d6 is not a weakness. So if I had two more moves, I would play c4, a4. Probably without too much thinking, because I need to prevent b5 from being a strong move. I'm a minute down on the clock, which is not bad. Now I need to play against his knight, and his knight can come via the c6 square into b4 and d4. If it comes to d4, I take it. If it comes to b4, okay, he takes immediately. if it comes to b4, what do I do? So knight c6 I'm expecting now. But then it's hard to play b5. And if he plays b5, it's hard to play knight c6. One thing that should be noted is that I often have pressure along the d file with something like bishop takes c5, especially when his back rank is weak. So now I want to play rook f to d1. If he plays b5, I want to play a4 to open up the structure. If he plays knight c6, I'm going to play c3. I just need to restrain that knight. It's a very annoying knight. If he plays queen e6 trying to trade, I'm going to play rook f to d1. Okay, should I play a4 now or just rook f to d1? Because if I play a4, he can still play b5. We sort of get the same variation. If he goes knight c6, I'm going to play c3 anyway, so maybe rook f to d1 is the most precise way to play. And I want to play all three moves anyway, so now at least I'm restraining his pieces. If his queen moves, let's say the queen moves to e6, then I don't have bishop c5 because he can take my queen first. But if queen e6, bishop c5, dc5, I win. So he can't really move his queen away to a square like g6 or b5. Well, on b5 he can, because bishop c5, queen c5. I don't know. I think his knight is a great piece, but I think my bishop is worthy as well. So now my plan was to go c3. But if I go c3 and he goes b5, I could then run into problems after a4. But he can't go b5 now because the knight is hanging on c6. So c3 I think has to be played just to not give his knight any squares. If he plays queen to e5 now, I'm going to start doubling my rooks with rook d3, and if he takes, I'm going to take with the rook. At which point he can then play d5, but I'm going to start doubling my rooks. Now also bishop f4 is an option here to put triple pressure on the pawn. I would say that my bishop is better than his knight, especially now that the knight has been restrained. And if I can get enough time to double my rooks and play bishop f4 and d6 drops, that's going to be a significant extra pawn, because then c5 is weak. Maybe queen e5 or queen e6 are the best options for him here. Just trading off a couple of pieces, but then I still think I have enough time to double. So he has this annoying Benoni pawn structure with c5 and d6, which makes it really hard for him to develop his pieces. He wants to play b5, but it's hard. So rook d3 now should be fine, but then he plays knight e5. Rook d3, knight e5. Rook d3, knight e5, my rook has to move, he gains the tempo. I don't want to play c4 because that allows his knight to come in. Maybe rook to c1 is a good waiting move. Rook c1, knight e5. I still don't have rook d3, but then I can go rook to d2. Okay, I like rook c1. I don't want to play rook d3 because knight e5 will mean that I have to move my rook again. And I want to be permanently defending my c3 pawn until I can double. And when I double, bishop c5 will be a threat. Okay. So now, if I go queen d3, so queen d3, b5 runs it to bishop takes c5. I still think queen d3 is the most principled move. He could go knight g6, attacking my queen again, but then he would just come back into e5. Then if knight g6, he gives me enough time to play rook d2. Or maybe bishop f2. Okay, this I missed. But does that work? Why can't I just take on c5? Bishop takes c5. D takes e4. Bishop takes e7. Queen takes e7, queen takes e4. Bishop takes c5, d takes e4, queen takes e4. Rook takes d1. Rook takes d1. If queen takes c3, I can take the knight. So I'm just going to take on c5. I don't think there's a problem with this move. I didn't even consider d5 because it hangs the c5 pawn. And also, yeah, I'm sorry, if he takes on e4 now, I can just take the rook and win. I didn't even consider that. So the whole time I'm thinking about this pin and bishop takes c5 winning a pawn, and I didn't consider that now d takes e4 is impossible because the rooks are hanging. He has back rank issues. Now d takes e4 is a threat, but can I not just play bishop d4, gaining a tempo on his queen? I could also just take the pawn. So e takes d5. He has knight f4, but in that case, I'm going to play queen to d2 to defend my g2 pawn. And from f4, his knight is coming into e2, d3, and h3. So e takes d5, knight f4 would win the pawn back for him. So I don't like that. I don't want to take on d5. I want to stop him from coming into f4. How do I do that? Bishop d4. He has to move the queen. He's probably going to move the queen to g5. Then takes on e4, knight f4. Bishop d4, queen g5, queen e3, knight f4. Threatening knight h3 check. king h1. Okay, I don't like taking because of knight f4. I prefer bishop d4. Seems like a more secure move. If he plays queen g5, which I'm expecting, queen e3 removes my queen from the pin. And if queen g5, queen e3, knight f4, I am going to have to go king h1. No, king h1 hangs mate. That's just stupid. So bishop e3 now to stop knight f4, I like. Okay, queen e3 would be a stupid move because that would allow knight f4, threatening mate. But bishop e3, his queen has to move away from the g file, and the knight doesn't have f4. So bishop e3, queen f6, queen to d4, the queen would have to move away, and then I can finally take on e4. Okay, I like bishop e3. If he takes on e4, I'm going to take the queen. Oof. Can he take here? No, he can't. So bishop e3, queen g2 check, king g2, knight f4 check. My queen is defended. Okay, so I can do that. Queen g2, king g2, knight f4 check is also defended by the bishop. I'm seeing ghosts. So against queen f6, I'm now going to play queen to d4. If he takes on e4 now, I take his queen, he takes mine. Or I could just play queen takes e4. Maybe taking on e4 works. D takes e4, queen takes g5. He has to take with the rook, otherwise I take the rook. Yeah, he took. So rook takes, so bishop takes g5, rook takes d3, rook takes d3. If I go rook d1, he doesn't have a way to defend that pawn unless he plays f6. So I think this is good for him. So I shouldn't really be doing that. So queen takes e4 is the second option. Queen takes e4, he still has to move the queen. If he goes rook e8, then I can safely take his queen. If he moves the queen, I can go rook e8. But let's do this again. Bishop takes g5, rook takes d3, rook takes d3, e takes d3, rook d1, f6, bishop e3, rook d8, and he later has knight e5. So I don't like that. I'm going to go queen takes e4. But after queen takes e4, rook e8, he's double attacking my bishop, but I can take on g5, so that should be okay. Queen takes e4, rook e8, bishop takes g5. Okay. What if he goes knight h4? Then I still take the queen. Okay. I think this should be fine. Hope I didn't miss anything. He can exchange a pair of rooks first to make sure that he doesn't lose the b7 pawn. So if he moves the queen, I can take on d8. And when rook takes on d8, I can play bishop takes on... No, what am I talking about? Queen takes on b7. But the problem is that he's probably going to play queen e7, and then on rook takes d8, he's going to take with the queen. Unless I take on e7, knight takes e7, and then after rook d8, b7 is not attacked at all. Okay. He double attacks my pawns. So now I'm looking at queen c2, defending both and stopping a rook infiltration and controlling the d file. So queen c2, rook b to c8, I can go c4, then he goes b5. Queen c2, rook b to c8, bishop d4. Then he has knight f4. Okay, queen c2, I think I need to start playing quickly because I'm getting into time trouble. I'm expecting rook b to c8, and I could go c4 and meet b5 with c5, sort of like that as well. Or against rook b to c8, I can just take on d8, which I'm not particularly fond of because I'm giving up the d file. But I have an extra pawn on the queen side, so trading of the pieces should benefit me. I'm just looking at rook b c8, rook d8, rook d8, rook d1, rook d1, queen a7, queen d8 check, knight f8, bishop c5. Do I have enough time for that? He wants to play knight f4 if I move my bishop. So I think I should be doubling up my rooks, but the problem is that he can then go knight e5 and chase my rook away. And if I go bishop d4, he can go knight f4, threatening knight e2 and rook e2. So bishop d4, knight f4, rook to d2 has to be played to stop rook e2. He can then play queen to g5, which I also don't like. So I want to play rook to e1 to keep controlling g5 and f4. I think that's essential. So rook to e1, I'm just going to defend, but then I pin my rook. So rook e1, rook takes e3, rook takes e3, queen to b6, rook c to e1, queen to e8. I can go queen to d3. Okay, that should be fine. I don't think the exchange sec works. I don't think he has enough. With the pin on b6, he only has two pieces that can attack, and I have three that can defend. So rook e3, queen b6, rook e1, rook e8, queen d2, and then I can just move my king away to f1. I'm still wondering about his c4 at the start of the game, which I think was good. Instead of d6. I think d6 gave me a better position, and c4 would have given him a better position. Even though I had f4 or bishop f4 or bishop d4. I'm not sure. I think he's calculating the exchange sacrifice, but I don't think it works with only two attackers. Okay. Now I think I should start pushing my pawns. Passed pawns are meant to be pushed. So c4, stopping the queen controlling d3, and if rook takes e3, queen b6, I have c5. And I can also try to trade the queens off. So c4 seems okay. If rook e3, rook d2, trying to win a pawn, then his back rank is weak. And now my next move is going to be rook c to d1. No, it's not, because if he takes, I either lose the bishop or the a2 pawn. What's wrong with c5? c5, he can play f4. Okay, but now he doesn't have queen g5. So now bishop g5 seems like a good move. Bishop g5, he doesn't have rook d2 because my bishop is still defending it. He would have to trade. So trade. Okay, I need to play quickly. I'm in time trouble already. I've left the defense of b6, but I don't think that's a big problem. Queen b6, I just go king h1. I just hung my rook. Oh, Jesus. I just hung checkmate. Okay. Oh. I'm so stupid sometimes. Okay. Yeah, okay, I didn't even consider that. Okay. Oof. Okay. Let me just read the comments in the chat. Don't get Black's plan, me neither. Thought he's going for c4, b5. He was, I guess. I don't like 12, knight d5. Okay. Okay, yeah. Let's just see this position, this critical position. Okay, so he was better after knight f5, and I expect c4. No, d6 was best. Okay, c4, queen d4 is good, bishop f4 is good, f4 is not good. Queen d4 is best, and after queen d4, if he takes, I'm double attacking two pieces. No, I'm double attacking the bishop, so he needs to go here, and I guess I just take. Okay. Knight f5, he played d6. Knight e7 is correct, queen e7 is correct. Knight d5 is okay, knight takes, bishop takes is okay. Bishop e6 should have been played. Rook b8 castles, bishop e6. b3 was the best move. Bishop takes, queen takes. Rook f to d1 is okay, knight c6. This lost the exchange. I missed that. Why did I miss this? Okay, yeah, the f pawn is pinned, which I did not consider. And could I not have taken that exchange before b3 or here? What's wrong with it here? So if I go bishop g5, oh, it's protected, yeah, I'm sorry. The knight is still on e5. Okay, so knight c6, yeah, bishop g5 was just winning. c3, queen f6, still bishop g5. Yeah, okay. I missed all of that. Yeah, d5 was not correct, knight g6. I played bishop d4, which is fine. Queen g5, which is fine. Bishop e3, which is okay. de. Queen takes, which is correct. Oh, I could have exchanged with queen takes d8. But queen e4 is best. Queen a5, queen c2 is okay. Rook e8. Rook e1 is correct. Rook d to b8. c4. c4 is a mistake. Yeah, c4 is a mistake because now my e-rook is double attacked. f4 I wouldn't consider. c4 is just bad. f4, rook e2, or a4. c4 is bad, and after f5, c5. Yeah, that was my first question. What's wrong with c5? And there's nothing wrong with c5. Just attacking the pawn. And if f4, his knight doesn't have f4. Yeah. And obviously bishop g5 is just a dreadful blunder. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with this game. Of course, I'm not happy that I blundered my rook in the end, but I think I played well up to a point, and I had a minute 55 here, so I think after f5 I said something like, I'm in time trouble, I need to play fast, and then instead of playing c5, which was my first intuitive move, and it's the best move, I played bishop g5, which is horrible. Yeah, I just stupid, missing that my queen and his queen and rook are attacking my e-rook. Yeah, congratulations to my opponent. I think I played well, and yeah, I think this is the first time I played well against the Hungarian defense. So now I know a bit more about it, a bit more experience. Okay, see you tomorrow with a new video. Let me know what you think about the game, and stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.